Hey, Facebook family, YouTube family, YouTube subbies, what's up? Welcome to Sergeant Dorsey Speaks Special Report. I wanted to share something with you, and so I'm going to be doing this across all of my platforms. This is a really special report, as indicated by the title. And so I want you, as you come on, to please share this on your timeline. I've got some really important information that I want to share with you, and it's important that this information gets out to as many people as possible. Hey, Barry, what's up? So as you come on and step into the room, share this on your timeline, create a watch party, do what it is you have to do to get as many people on board for this particular report. And I'll just give you a little, as you guys come into the room. Hey, Shaz. Um, hey, Quincy. I'll give you a little, not a teaser, but I'll just tell you what I want to talk about so that you understand the importance. Many of you have probably seen by now information that's circulating regarding a young man by the name of Ahmaud Arbery. Ahmaud Arbery. This is a very Trayvon Martin-esque story. Young man shot and killed. Family has not been able to um, go public and protest as they'd like to because of the pandemic that we're under. You know, you can't gather in large crowds and all of that. And so the fear has been, and I'm starting to see more articles, and I'm going to share with you at least one article that's out there already about this young man's story so that you can share this with others. But the family was concerned that they may not be able to get the kind of attention that they need because they cannot protest publicly. And so that's what I want to start off talking with you about today, Ahmaud Arbery. And there are a couple of, we. So you guys, you know, I told you before that Facebook is in the midst of some kind of a switch over situation, and I hope that this thing doesn't switch my camera because I'm using an external camera, and Facebook last time, a couple of sessions ago, switched in the midst of my Facebook Live and went to my computer camera. So I hope and pray that that doesn't happen again. If for some reason I should lose you or you lose me, come right back because this is very important and you need to know. So in addition to me sharing this with you, and it's going to piss you off, so let me just give you a warning. This is going to piss you off. So that's not my intent. It's never my intent. I always just really am looking to inform you. And this is a call to action. The family is asking for assistance. And so that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to share on my little itty bitty platform, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks, the story of Ahmaud Arbery. There are a couple of hashtags that have been created by the family in conjunction with their efforts. And so for those of you who may be so inclined to share this, and I hope you do, be sure to include the hashtag. And so I'll do that right now for you. One of the hashtags is justice for Ahmad. Justice for Ahmad. So I'm going to type that in my, I'm going to type this in my comment section so that you can see that. That's one of the hashtags. And then the other one is I run with Ahmad. I run with Maud. I run with MAUD. And there's looks like there's an exclamation point. So I wanted to share that with you as well. And then while I'm sharing, let me do this because there's also a petition that is associated with this Justice for Ahmad campaign that's going on. It's on change.org. And let me see if I can get that link for you as well, so that you can share this on your timeline and ask others to please go and sign this petition for the family. And here's part of what's going on as I get into the story. Charges have not been filed in the case. of the two people responsible for shooting Ahmad. And so that's part and parcel as to why this change.org petition was created. So now you have the hashtags. I run with Maud, hashtag justice for Ahmad. And then I also included the link for signature, and they are very near. Maybe by now they've reached their goal in terms of signatures, but I just wanted to put that out there. So let me get to it and let me tell you what's going on with Ahmaud Arbery. This happened back in February in Brunswick, Georgia, and Ahmad is a local former high school football athlete. And he's also a runner. He likes to run. And it's not uncommon for him to be running through the neighborhood. Folks, according to this article, say that, it's not unusual to see Ahmad running through the area. So, Ahmad is a Black man, in case you haven't figured it out. He was 25 years old. Neighbors say it's not unusual, some neighbors, not unusual to see him running through the area. So the fact that he's running through the area is not unusual, and it should not have been suspicious. But on this day, back in February, two people who look nothing like me and Ahmad saw him running. Now, these two people are identified as Gregory McMichael, he's 64 years old, and his son, Travis McMichael, who's 34. So Gregory sees Mr. Arbery running through the neighborhood and decides, that Negro looks suspicious, because the day before, allegedly, a neighbor said that there was some Black man in a white t-shirt who had been seen in a building that was under construction. Now, understand this. Even if that were true, a Black man in a building under construction, what does that mean? Because listen, when I had a home being built, there were many days when I went to that location with my then husband just to stand inside and marvel at this home that was being built that was ours while it was under construction. Thankfully, no one ever called the police on us or my then husband, because we happen to be two Black people in a building under construction. And so the fact that he was in a building under construction, number one, is not problematic for me. But that's the story that Gregory McMichael and his son Travis are telling, and they're sticking to that story. So Gregory sees Mr. Arbery running through the neighborhood in a white t-shirt and shorts and says, I wonder if that's the Negro that was in that building under construction the day before. So he yells to young Travis, hey, Travis, grab your shotgun. I've got my 357, and let's get in the pickup truck and let's go see what this Negro's doing. And that's what they did. They jumped in their pickup truck and they pursued Arbery. Now, I don't know if young Ahmad knew that he was being chased by these knuckleheads, but they decided, rather than call the police, that they were going to be the police and confront him and find out, just what the heck are you doing running through my neighborhood? Because he's in an area that's described as a middle-class enclave. And I'll tell you the name of the neighborhood as soon as I see it. But they jumped in the car, in their truck, their pickup, with a 357 Magnum revolver and a shotgun, and then they decided that they wanted to confront young Arbery, and they did. And in the midst of them confronting him, there was a air quote struggle. There was a struggle. Now, we don't know if there was a struggle or not, because Ahmad is not here to tell us his side of the story. Ahmad was eventually shot twice by Travis and killed in the midst of this struggle. Now, here's the problem. George McMichael is a former investigator over in the district attorney's office in Waycross, Georgia. The DA over in Waycross, Georgia, his name is George Barnhill. So Senior McMichael used to be a DA investigator over there. So quite naturally, when his boss, Mr. Barnhill, got wind of this shooting, and the one story that they're telling, because Ahmad is not here to tell us his version, DA Barnhill decided, makes sense to me. And he went further than that, because the district attorney said that actually Travis McMichael, the shooter, the guy with the shotgun, the 34-year-old son of George McMichael, former investigator in the DA's office. The DA said, hey, Travis acted out of self-defense. Georgia is an open carry state, and the DA opined that he was defending himself because when two white men confront a young black man who's unarmed, wearing a t-shirt and tennis shoes, and he looks like he's a slight little guy, right? He's a runner. It makes sense to believe their version of the story that Ahmad violently attacked two white men with a .357 revolver and a shotgun. And in the midst of his violent attack, they had to defend themselves. And so Travis shot twice, killing unarmed Ahmaud Arbery. That's their story. The DA said, makes sense to me. I'm with you. And did not decline to file any charges. So neither of these jackasses have been arrested. And so the family is clearly bothered, and you can understand why. They're bothered. They want justice for their son. They have been complaining vehemently that something needs to be done, but they can't do it publicly. And so they have created a Facebook page. I'll put that link up here on Facebook as well as on my description for my YouTube subbies. So subbies, listen, I need you to get involved and get engaged as well. And I'm going to give you all of the links that you're going to need to, number one, know the story if you haven't seen it. And number two, sign the petition. And number three, share it with others. So I'll give you all of those links. Mom has been complaining. And so now, you know, folks are like, ooh, well, who knew? Is there something going on over in Brunswick, Georgia that we need to pay attention to? Let me look into it. Now, Barnhill decided to recuse himself because the family is not being quiet. So Barnhill decided, well, now that you guys know that the shooter's the shooter's father used to work for me, I guess I need to recuse myself. So he did. He recused himself after he decided not to file charges. And then he wrote a letter, he being DA Barnhill. He wrote a letter. He wrote a letter to the police department. And you know what they like to do with our young people, right? They like to dirty them up after the fact. So he writes a letter to the police department, and he tells the police department that Arbery, and I'm going to repeat it because I want you to know what they're doing, but it makes no difference. It has absolutely nothing to do with anything. But he reports allegedly that Arbery has a criminal past. Okay. He has a criminal past. George McMichael and Travis McMichael knew nothing about that when they decided to stop him because he was running through the neighborhood exercising. They knew nothing about that. And his prior conviction was for shoplifting. Okay, so what? Big deal. He was on probation in 2018. Okay, so what? Big deal. McMichael knew nothing about that when they decided to go after him. They saw a black man in shorts and a white t-shirt running through a neighborhood where allegedly a black man had been seen wearing a white t-shirt the day before in a building that was under construction. And they wanted to have a fireside chat with him because that's their right. And according to DA Barnhill, in Georgia, if a white man sees a black man and they want to ask him a question, they get to do that. That's their right, according to District Attorney George Barnhill. So he's recused himself, and the case has now been sent over to another attorney. Now, this other attorney seems to have a conflict as well somehow, and this other attorney also, this other attorney's office, neighboring attorney's office, has recused themselves. And so now, ultimately, finally, this case is being handled by someone by the name of Tom Durden. Tom Durden. He is the district attorney for the Atlanta Judicial Circuit. So if you look at the link that the family has, you can see what they're requesting. And obviously it's easy to understand. They're requesting an investigation, number one. And number two, don't come through with some BS investigation. We need a full-throated, thorough, complete investigation. And we need something that's going to speak to how is it that two white men can see a black man running through a neighborhood and decide it's their right to confront him and ask him a question about why he's even there, and then kill him? I don't know what's going to happen ultimately, but I'm going to do my best to get the word out, to share it with you all here on Facebook. Ron, the links are in the comments on this particular video, so you can see it. The young man's name is Ahmaud Arbery. You can Google him and you can see what's going on with that particular case and what it is that the family is asking us to do. Because listen, this is the timing is perfect to slide this thing under the rug, and they can't come out, they can't protest, they can't speak on it publicly in a group setting where they can get folks' attention. But I did share an article that I saw today on Daily Mail UK, that's on their internet website, and I believe that the story is getting out because many of you are starting to send it to me via email. I appreciate you making sure that I'm aware that this is going on. So I'm going to share it here. Please, please share this on your Facebook timeline with your family and friends. Ask them to sign the petition. And then if you feel so inclined, reach out to District Attorney Tom Durbin over there in Atlanta and demand that they conduct a thorough investigation. And I would really like to know where it's written, under what statute, ordinance, law does it say that a white man, I get it as Georgia, but a white man who sees a black man has the absolute right to stop and question them about whatever it is they want to question a black man about. And in this case, it was running in a neighborhood, you look suspicious, and I think you might be a burglar. There's no indication from the things that I've seen about why they thought he was a burglar. I mean, was he wearing burglar tools? Did he have property that he was hiding in his shorts as he was running through the neighborhood? Did he match the physical description of the black man who was seen the day before, other than just happened to be a black man who happened to have on a shirt that was allegedly the same color as the person who may or may not have even been seen? We don't even know if that's a thing, right? Family, Ahmad's family might want to ask if there's any police report from the day before of any suspicious people that even fit that description. I don't know if there is or not, but if there is, I don't know how you tie this young man to that. So that's what's going on, family. And so please, please imagine if this were you. It's never a good time to lose a loved one. It's never a good time to have to take on a bureaucracy. You've heard me talk about what it is when you're one person going against a machine. And so this family is going against a machine, and this machine is trying to keep this stuff quiet by not allowing them to come out publicly because they can't gather in large numbers and protest the inaction that's going on over there in the death of Ahmaud Arbery. So I hope you all engaged, and you may hear me speak on this some more, okay, because I want to speak on it. So that's the first thing that's going on. And now let me just talk a little bit about this whole, black folks out in public, because there's been a lot said about police targeting minorities more than white folks when they're out protesting. Now, these are white folks out protesting versus, black folks just being out, going to the store. Sometimes a few of us have been caught dirty. We've been out there cutting up birthday parties, Easter egg hunts, weddings, right? But the way that police are dealing with the two groups is very different. Who would be surprised by that? Police treating us differently than they do our counterparts. Know that this is going on. Govern yourselves accordingly. The article says that heavy-handed tactics have prompted some to question why Black people get the riot treatment when predominantly white demonstrators protesting stay-at-home orders are allowed to gather, and there's very little reaction from law enforcement. And so there was a couple of instances that were mentioned in this particular article, and one was here locally in South Central in LA, 77th Division more specifically. There was a party, and listen, they shouldn't have been partying. It was a baby's 1-year birthday, and some of us decided to get together in a group larger than 10 to celebrate the baby's birthday. And so the police were called. And when the police showed up, you know, it was a problem. Now, 77th Division, or maybe more specifically, I don't know if it's Mike Moore, but whoever the spokesperson is for LAPD said that the thing that made this particular call different is that it wasn't just, you know, protesters and people being out. It was a radio call that the officers were responding to, and it was a disturbance call. So you see, when you just throw in a word or two, it changes everything, right? It changes how the police respond. It wasn't just, you know, folks violating the stay-at-home order. It was a disturbance call, and somehow that means something different. That's that code speak, that double talk that police representatives say to what they believe is a non-suspecting or unsuspecting public about what would justify something that just don't make no damn sense, right? So officers are responding to a disturbance call because the neighbors were bothered by these folks being out there and violating the stay-at-home directive, and so that was an issue. Then in San Diego, there was a situation where officers were required to enforce the stay-at-home order, and in San Diego, they decided to issue citations to the organizers of protest. And I think, you know, maybe the organizers look like you and me. I don't know for sure. But since the article is talking white versus black and how police respond, that tends to infer that citations were issued. And so agencies are being critical of this unequal enforcement, selective enforcement. San Diego County Sheriff's officials were criticized because on April 11th, they issued citations to protesters who were in their cars trying to bring attention to conditions for immigrants that were being held at the Otay Mesa detention facility. So folks were protesting in their car, didn't get out, but nonetheless, the San Diego County Sheriff's officer started writing tickets to folks. This was back on April 11th. The demonstrators stayed in their car, but they were honking their horns. And so, you know, I've talked before about the vehicle code here in California and how chicken shit it is. And there are sections that, you know, if you don't have wind on your windshield or bumps on your bumper, you guys may not know that that's a thing. I'm being sarcastic. But there are a lot of chicken shit vehicle code sections. And so in San Diego, during this protest, while they were in their car trying to be safe as they protest, they started issuing citations for what? Unlawful use of the horn. Did you even know that that was a vehicle code violation? Unlawful use of a horn? Yeah. So once they stopped folks for unlawful use of a horn, then they have an opportunity to, you know, ask you a few questions and engage you and add other sections. And so I guess there were a couple of people who probably need to holler at the general flow over a progressive because they didn't have any car insurance. So unlawful use of horn, no proof of insurance. And listen, I don't know if some of that wound up with a few vehicles being towed because kind of technically, it's been a minute since I wrote a ticket for unlawful, for not having insurance. There used to be a time when we could tow cars if you didn't have insurance because, you know, if I let you drive away and you don't have insurance and I know it and you get in an accident and you hurt somebody, then, you know, I could be responsible or my department could be responsible. I don't know if they've changed that rule, but I do know that, you know, if you spark an officer's competitive spirit, if you find yourself victim of contempt of cop, piss me off, I'm gonna write you a ticket, and if I can figure out a way to impound your car, and you know what happens when your car gets impounded, you're gonna have at least 1 or 2 days of storage fee, right? When they hook that car up, that's an immediate, I think about probably 150 unless it's changed, and it hasn't gone down, I'm sure. So you're already out of probably $200-300. Selective enforcement, it's a thing. We haven't seen those kinds of citations being issued, you know, when folks don't look like me or protesting and honking their horn and jumping up out the sunroof and whatever else they do because they you know, are bothered by the stay-at-home order. So anyway, know that that's a thing, and folks are complaining about it. You know, that's what we do. We complain, and then, you know, they say, okay, thank you, and then they continue to do. So I don't know that that's going to make a difference that we're complaining. I think you just need to make sure that you put yourself in a position so that you are not subject to that selective enforcement, and just know that it's a possibility. There's another incident that's going around, and I'm going to do a separate video for this. I'll put it up on my YouTube channel over in Rancho Cordova. That's up in Northern California. Sacramento County Sheriff's Department is investigating an incident involving a Rancho Cordova Police Department officer. Now, this is the officer who was seen on video just punching a 14-year-old black kid in the chest like, he was in an MMA damn cage fight, right? And the reason that the officer was engaging this young man is because the young man allegedly had been involved in some kind of ongoing problem that they're having with adults buying tobacco products and alcohol for minors, allegedly. And this young man had bought a cigar from some adult. Now, Billy Badass, the police officer over there on the Rancho Cordova Police Department, Billy Badass, he lost track of the adult who sold the kid the cigarette. He turned and he looked, and the adult was gone, but he found the kid. And so he tackled this kid who looks like he weighs all of about 85 pounds, straddled him both knees on either side of this kid, and he is just wailing away, putting in work, hitting this kid in the chest. And so this little boy's sister put it on Instagram and I think on Twitter and a few other places because, listen, I advocate going public with misconduct when you see it. And so now that it's a big deal, and so now there's an investigation. And I don't know if, the investigators are going to really investigate and do anything because evidently the Rancho Cordova Police Department has a contract with the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. So it's kind of like they work hand in hand, right? I don't know how aggressively they're going to investigate this thing. And if they're going to let this officer's mumbo jumbo about why it made sense to punch a 14-year-old child in the chest repeatedly. And oh, by the way, the sister says that the little boy has a heart condition. He has a serious heart condition, according to the sister. And he could have problems by having been struck repeatedly in the chest. I pray that he doesn't. Hopefully he didn't that day, but who knows? So this is going on, and again, it's only once it becomes public by way of a video going viral or just petitions on change.org that police departments will investigate, look into, and then generally what happens once they're all done, they find a way to minimize and mitigate that bad behavior. So I don't know if that's going to be the case here or not, but the information that they're giving from their spokesperson, which is, and this is what they're saying, as the deputy turned around, he lost sight of the adult who left the area. The deputy approached the juvenile. The juvenile was uncooperative and refused to give the deputy basic identifying information. Having reasonable suspicion that criminal activity was occurring, it only made sense that the deputy would then just beat this kid unnecessarily in the chest, repeatedly punching him. According to the spokesperson who's ultimately going to be responsible for investigating this use of force, the spokesperson says the juvenile became physically resistive at that time, causing the deputy to lose control of his handcuffs. Now, the handcuffs allegedly landed several feet away from this young man who had become physically resistive. Code talk, family, physically resistive. The deputy attempted to maintain control of the juvenile without his handcuffs, and he was alone, awaiting partners to arrive and assist. Oh my. So you got a 14-year-old kid who weighs about 80 pounds. This jackass lost his handcuffs, and listen, it's been a while since I've been in uniform, but I carry 2 pairs of handcuffs, and only because, most times when you encounter somebody that's going to go to jail, they may have a buddy and you may need to handcuff more than one person. So do officers just carry around one little lowly pair of handcuffs? That's all you had, officer, was one, and you lost because it got tossed over to the side out of your reach when you're wrestling with this so tough 4-year-old child? as he was awaiting backup. So my thing is, okay, so if you're scared of a 14-year-old child, Mr. Rancho Cordova Police Department, Billy Badass officer, if that frightens you, sir, then why would you even confront him? Why didn't you just sit in your car and call backup and wait for them to arrive so that then you two together could go and deal with this scary, hairy 14-year-old baby? But no, you didn't do that, sir. You couldn't even keep your ass focused on the adult. You went after a 14-year-old child and then you beat him up. That's going on in Rancho Cordova. So I'll talk some more about that. I'll let you know what ultimately happens in terms of administrative adjudication of that situation. And then, we'll see. If you feel like it and you want to reach out to the Rancho Cordova Police Department, don't know who their police chief is over there, but you can certainly Google it and find it. You can also to the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department because they're the ones who are going to be investigating this use of force by Rancho Cordova. But remember, they have a symbiotic relationship. One contracts for the other. And so I don't know if we can really truly expect anything to be done because after all, the 14-year-old was resistive. So that's that, family. Just wanted to check in and share those two stories with you. Please, please, please share the information regarding Ahmaud Arbery. Family is really looking for assistance from others to help get information out there, others involved, engaged in getting justice for 24-year-old Ahmaud Arbery, who did nothing other than be Black in public. Until next time, family, be good, be safe.